Welcome to the 21 Lines of Inquiry podcast that's all about helping you discover your UCW, your unique contribution to the world. Join us as we delve into the 21 questions that will help you be more intentional about bringing your gifts into your career and your life overall. So when you're ready, let's get started. Hi, it's Anita, and in this episode, we're going to look at the question, when have you been pleasantly surprised about something related to your work? Now, surprise is an interesting emotion because you only feel it if things turn out differently to what you were expecting. And so exploring the things that have pleasantly surprised you can sometimes give you a clue as to things about yourself that may be hidden in plain sight. Let me share an example from my own career to illustrate what I mean here. Back in the 1990s, when I started my career, I'd recently qualified as a solicitor in the litigation department of a city law firm. And the workload was heavy, and sometimes the days were long and often a bit dull. But I had a trainee solicitor called Lauren, and every morning we would sit down and plan our tasks for the day ahead. Now, Lauren was an extremely bright and very capable individual, but there was just one problem. Her heart was not in it. So, as any manager would, I probed, wanting to know if there was anything I or the firm could do. But what emerged was far deeper than that. Lauren didn't want to be a lawyer. Her father had been a senior partner of another city law firm, and there'd been a lot of pressure in her family to do law, and Lauren didn't want to disappoint, naturally. During our conversations, it became clear that her heart was in the arts, specifically literature. Lauren had read widely since childhood and loved writing, and deep down her ambition, although she'd never really admitted it to anyone, even herself, was to be a writer. But, in her words, this was unrealistic and totally impractical. As time went on, the hours grew longer and the work more challenging, and Lauren started to struggle. One day she didn't come into work, and it turned out she had ME. I tried to contact her, but she couldn't speak to anyone at that time, and days turned into weeks, and eventually I heard from HR that sadly Lauren had chosen to leave the firm. I missed her on a personal level, but on a professional level, I was sad that somehow I'd failed her as a manager. There was no way to contact her. This was in the days before email or mobile phones, and she hadn't left any forwarding details. A few years passed, and in the year 2000, I was now working in Hong Kong and had to travel around Asia for business. One day I was at Singapore airport. The plane was delayed, and I found myself browsing for something to read in the airport bookshop. Suddenly, a book caught my eye. It was written by someone with the same name as Lauren. I picked it up, flicked through. It was Lauren. She'd published a novel. And then, to my utter surprise, I saw my own name amongst many others listed in the acknowledgements. Lauren had expressed her thanks to me by name as her former manager for our inspiring chats and helping her to realise she wanted to be a writer. I reached out to Lauren by writing to her publisher, and we reconnected after many years, and I visited her in Biarritz, where she was by then living with her husband, a professional surfer, far away from the life of a London lawyer. Now, what I love about this story is that Lauren made an important discovery for herself. She came to realise that who she was deep down, a writer, was not reflected in what she did, law, and that had consequences for how fulfilled that she felt in her career. And that even though externally law was a prestigious, good career, it wasn't good for her, and she had the courage to act on that insight and create a fulfilling career path for herself. But the reason I'm sharing Lauren's story in this episode is because it was one of the most unexpected and pleasant surprises that I've ever received in my career. The fact is, I was totally unaware of the long-term positive impact our conversations were having in helping Lauren to articulate and ultimately follow her true calling. And yet, the surprise shows that for me, helping others to hear their own calling and align their career path with that was something that I was doing long before I'd ever heard of coaching, years before I'd even thought about setting up the Career Intelligence Academy. The clues were right there in my early career as a lawyer. What was most meaningful to me and critical to my own UCW was helping others to find and follow their own path. So what about you? Take a few minutes now to reflect back on your career and life overall. What are the moments that stand out for you where you were pleasantly surprised as a result of something you did? Write down as many examples as come to mind and then ask yourself, what do these show in terms of clues as to your own UCW? And then when you're ready, I'll see you in the next episode.